name is Kat, and welcome to Shut Up and Shimmy. I, again, am your host for now and for forever. Today we have a very special guest. This person has been dancing in the Pacific Northwest for a while, but comes from different roots. A traditionalist, yet an innovator at the same time. She produces shows, she teaches weekly, she workshops, she is a musician on top of that. Pretty much anything that you can do, this lady has done. Please welcome Tempest.
Hi, hello. I don't sing.
You don't sing?
I don't sing.
Did I say sing? Is it
No. I'm just saying. You want to know what I don't do? I don't sing.
I see. Good. I don't sing either, and there's great reasons for it, right?
I think when I was about 12 or so, my mother said to me, "Oh, honey, don't sing." And considering my parents have pretty much encouraged me that I could do anything I want, saying, "Oh, they're going to take the time to tell me not to sing. I'm not going to sing."
Oh, they must be real serious now. Well, okay, fair enough. Well, right on. Well, welcome in.
Thank you.
This has been a hopefully long-going podcast, and I can't wait to see it grow more. And so I'm so happy you came in, at least on the early times.
Back in the beginning.
Back in the beginning. At least as far as I see this going. So, starting out, this is one question I always ask everybody because I'm interested. How did you start dancing? What is the thing that started you dancing?
All right, so when I was in college, back in Rhode Island, I was attending the Rhode Island School of Design, aka RISD. My best friend was a year or two ahead of me, and she graduated and moved back to the Bay Area. And she calls me and says, "You have to check out this group of women. They're crazy. They got different colored hair and tattoos, and they were belly dancing in the streets, and it was called Fat Chance Belly Dance." And it was the early days of the internet, but they had a website. And so I look it up, and I see these colors and these pictures, and I eventually got VHS tapes because this was the realm of the VHS tape, and I was mesmerized. At that time, though, there was no tribal on the East Coast. And so I was like, I'll find belly dance. And found one lady who taught at community center, and somehow managed to make it through that session because that was quite awful. Then I found Sabra Jamal, who learned from Nurhan Sharif's mother, who was based in Rhode Island, and many folkloric and oriental cabaret style teachers. And so I studied with her, and that's where I really got hooked into it. But I still wanted to learn this tribal thing. And so when I graduated, we moved to California, which is where my then now ex-husband was from, and where my best friend was at. And so I get there, and I go and take classes at Fat Chance, and it wasn't quite the same as those classes back in Rhode Island.
Oh, the dream.
I realized that I'm not built for group dynamics. And once you have learned the Oriental vocabulary, and, so this is an undulation is called a camel, and this and that, and then you have a whole other different thing, like do a taxi. I'm like, okay, do a solo instrumental piece of music, and move to it. How you feel? No, it's a set movement. So left brain, right brain was sort of a disconnect. Though I tried it, also went to Ultra Gypsy, I went to a few other things, and then I found Azar, who did Turkish and Oriental. And so that's my little long journey of, ooh, Fat Chance, ooh, tribal, ooh, really, I guess I'm better equipped for Oriental.
I want these things. They're not exactly what I planned, but I'm going to try it. Maybe. No. Okay, let's do something else.
Yeah, I mean, it looked, when you look at those great pictures from the Gwazi dancers and the lithographs and the etchings and, the women and all the colors and the big pantaloons and the braided hair, and it's great. And it's not really what actually tribal is. I didn't know back in the 90s. That's, it looked authentic, but it's a fusion. It wasn't actually until almost 10 years later when I found Algerian and Tunisian dance through Amel Tafsout. I was like, wait, this does exist. This is the thing I was looking for. It really does exist. And so that was pretty awesome.
Quite the journey, at least from...
I hung on for over a decade to get there.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, I talk a lot about well-rounded dancers, and it's always better to be a well-rounded dancer who's done a bunch of things. Not like trying to be best at everything, but just having knowledge of all things. And it just changes their dance just a little bit more. They have just a little bit more flavor
Right.
than somebody else might have. And you've got like all of those packed in. I mean, what else did we leave out, right? I've seen some weird stuff, but what haven't you done? The other day I found robot hip hop belly dance, and I didn't know what to think of it. I'm sure it's been around, but it's...
Yeah, I have pretty much seen everything, for better or for worse. And especially, let's see, how did I get to where going into, I want to learn tribal, I'm ending up in doing Turkish and doing Oriental and folkloric, as I brought my personality to it. And those early performances where I'm like, I'm so excited. Here's those first, 6 months, 6 weeks. I'm pretty sure it was more than 6 weeks. At that point, it was 6 months. I'm going to go perform. We're going to, we have our pagan group is like, we're going to go perform at a street fair. And we had rugs and we had musicians and we all danced. And I hope I never actually see video of that performance.
The video.
Because I'm going to have sword and I'm going to do veil and it's going to be dramatic. Well, it was dramatic and it was dark. And at least people picked up on that. And so they're like, what you're doing is dark. It's darker than regular belly dance. And it's dramatic. It's darkly dramatic. It's like gothic belly dance or something. I don't even think that's a thing exists. And, well, after that it did.
You really did start a whole... I want to call it a section. I don't feel like that's the right word for it. I probably have a better word, but it's past my bedtime already, if you believe it or not. Children, everybody. 8 o'clock looks real good for bedtime. You really started a new section, a new era of belly dance. I think something that has been copied and repasted and redone and renovated again and again and again. Mm-hmm. Was it you just wanting to do something just that felt good to your soul, or is it something that you were striving for? Like, I know I want this, or was it an accident? How did that process of kind of achieving your style at the time? Because you've changed over the time too.
Yes, and constantly evolving. It's a good question because when I first started dancing, and I found Dahlia Corella, and I was fascinated by the fact that she was doing her own world fusion dance. And so I had it in my head that I'm going to create this type of world fusion dance. I had only been dancing a couple of years at that point. But I was studying classical Indian dance, and I was studying different kinds of belly dance. And when you're that fresh off the boat, fresh onto the belly dance boat, or the belly dance bandwagon, you really can't. And luckily, I figured that out pretty soon, that trying to create a fusion doesn't really work. I think especially when you've only been doing it for a couple of years. And Dahlia, last time I talked to her, I think she's been doing it for 38 years now or something like that. And how many years did it take her to get to that point? And so I just abandoned the thought of, I'm not going to try to construct something. I'm just going to see what happens. I'm going to let this happen organically. And as soon as I let it go, and let it happen organically, that's when people start saying, okay, you're doing something that's very silent film, and there's this goddess dark element, and it's sort of uncomfortable but yet satisfying at the same time. And this is feedback from all sorts of people. So from regular belly dancers and regular audience bystanders, the general public, and one of the first promoters that I worked with out in California, he's like, okay, well, tell me about what you do. And I described it. And he was the one who said, I think what we should call what you're doing Gothic belly dance. And I went, okay.
Whatever, man. You have no opinion about that? Because I know that sometimes that word can be, it's like saying the word belly dance in a belly dance community. It's either good or bad. Right. And sometimes for people, the word Gothic is either good or bad.
Right. There's still a lot of misconceptions. And back then, it was more... especially that event, it was by artists, for artists in the general public. I think it was called the Pacific Arts Collective, which was that they'd have musicians, and they'd have artists doing live painting, and they'd have dancers, and it was this monthly thing where they tried to bring the arts together, and especially in the San Jose area, and educate people about the arts. And so he couldn't put in, dance that comes from the Orient and has dark elements, and it's like you can't really describe all that.
Paraphrase that a little bit.
Let's just put it in Gothic belly dance. And it really kind of worked because at that time, Goth was having its own little revival. There's actually, if it even was a revival, I'd say it was still
hanging on.
It was still hanging on for dear undead
we can
life.
totally do it just for a little longer.
I mean, we still have good music, right? It's still being produced before it goes off into EBM. And and so, having come from being a marginal sort of person, when you're an artist and when you are, first of all, you put yourself in the artist community, you're off somewhere on not part of the general public. And then you travel and you do artistic things and have crazy ideas and you don't dress like, regular people.
Yes.
Mundane people, I don't know, the muggles.
There you go.
I found a word for it afterwards. Then you're like, well, it's a label, but it works and it should, stir up something. And I didn't really find that much blockage from the regular public about Gothic. It came more from other belly dancers who only heard the word and thought, well, it's going to involve these things. And I'm like, but you don't even know anything about goths. And, even at that point, that's when the first generation, or the primary generation of goths were having their kids for the first time and, being out in corporate America. So it wasn't just like these angsty teenagers in their,
playing Doom in their garage.
Yeah,
in their garage.
Dungeons and Dragons in the basement, and what was that shit, that spoof on Saturday Night Live? Yes, it is kind of late, but you get those misconceptions, and we still keep battling that along the way. And somewhere when the Gothic Belly Dance DVD came out from World Dance New York, I subtitled it "The Darker Side of Fusion."
Oh.
So I was consulted for the process, and I said, we kind of need a little descriptor. And dark fusion wasn't quite enough.
Right.
Darker side of fusion seemed to be a little bit more descriptive and a little bit more teased. And then shortly after that, some of the people who were involved in that DVD started calling what they wanted, even though they were like, so goth. So goth they fart bats.
So goth. I'm really using that from now on. Instead of saying metal, that's so metal.
It's really so goth.
That's so goth.
Like corrupted into a new word. So goth. SOGAWTH. So goth. They're like, well, people are scared of the word gothic, so I'm gonna start using dark. You're like, whatever.
I feel like if I were to show this to my mom, who doesn't really understand any of it,
mm-hmm.
she would say that they're the same thing.
Right.
Absolutely. She goes, she must be one of those goth people, is exactly the word she would use, right? I don't think it makes any difference. Even for people who are in the know, I think they would think the same thing.
Right. It was just, I think, more of a reaction, but I didn't really get into that reaction. I'll use the man, like, whatever you want to call it. This is, maybe that's what I do.
I'm happy that you're not concerned with necessarily the title of it. You're happy and proud with the art that you have, that you're not going to concern yourself with the title of it.
Right. The concern for labels is so 2007.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a journey. We've got a journey from a little cabaret, a little tribal, a little this, a little that, all along the way. One thing that a lot of people have trouble with, and I've had this identity issue, is with finding where you feel good, where
mm-hmm.
your place is with your dance, with you as yourself as a person. So how long did that take you to find that spot? About where you felt like this is me. This is Tempest as a dancer. This is what I am like. Now, of course, you're evolving within that, but
right.
A place where you feel comfortable, because a lot of people, they'll dance for years and years and years and never really feel like they found their style,
mm-hmm.
and it's hard to pinpoint what you like.
Where I would say I hit my happy point was around 2009 to 2010. So that's a good 11, 12 years into the journey. I have a theory that this is the belly dance timeline. So you start taking belly dance classes, and it is the best thing ever. And some unfortunate people drop off after 6 weeks and go off and become professionals. And you can't see this, everybody, right now. I'm making the quotes.
The air quotes.
There are air quotes.
They're really big air quotes.
And sometimes it's 6 months, and sometimes it's 1 year, and sometimes it's 2 years. And that's really unfortunate. But hopefully they come back. If they don't, then they stop and they go along their way and find something else to abuse. Anyway, so
Air quotes.
But those who stick with it in that 2 to 3 year mark all of a sudden have decided that this is the gospel according to belly dance, and they're really excited about what they're doing, and they are dogmatic about whatever their teacher is telling them, because usually most people have kind of still stuck with one teacher at this point if they haven't moved, and so it's the gospel according to belly dance. And that comes from the fact that when you're learning something new, you want to feel like you're doing the right thing. And if somebody tells you that they're doing something different, it becomes this comparative thing. Which is better? It's like, they're all good. It's all great. Year 4, 5, and 6 is where you hit the trauma.
Oh, no. All right. I'm in.
And you go, wait, maybe I don't know everything. Maybe my shimmy really does suck. And she only liked my costume. Does that mean my dance sucked? It's your teenage crisis. And some people kind of get stuck in that for a while. And as you become more aware, it's like you're in your little bubble, and then you grow into the community, and then you realize that everybody has a catty corner.
Yes.
We're women. This is what we do. The men, they do it too. But
just better somehow, I think.
Yes. And they're like, why have a corner? We'll have a balcony. And once you get past there, I think that people past the 8 to 9 year mark start to become more comfortable. Being like, all right, it doesn't matter anymore. I've learned enough things. I know that some of these things don't match up. She says how to do a shimmy that way. He says to do a shimmy that way. I do what works for my body. And then from there, you start to relax. And it really is that 10, 11, 12 year mark where hopefully you've hit a point of, I love this, or I enjoy doing this, and I want to share it with other people, and it's a personal journey for me to grow. I don't have to hold it up to anybody else. Some people never make it past year 2 mentally.
I'm great. This is great. Look at me, Shimmy.
I'm really cute in my costume. It's so great. But that's human nature. But I think that most dancers who stick with it in the long run are going to see that growth. And for me, it became, I got, unfortunately, rocketed to the forefront of things because of the Gothic Belly Dance DVDs. I create this website because I'm like, I like to share information. I like to collect information. I want people to have the right information. I'm a Gemini. Here is all the information I know. Let me show you all the information. Here's 6 different complicated things that might conflict with each other, but at least you have them all, right? And so I'm really enthusiastic about information. But because, and I was a pretty good dancer, and I'm a very passionate dancer. So what I didn't have for technique, I made up in stage presence, which is very easy to connect. You can always push that a little bit further. I think people connect more with emotion than they do with technicality, especially if they don't know what they're looking at. And so when you're creating this, at the forefront of a genre, a new style, and you're not quite ready to be there yet, it can really screw with you. And so there was a lot of comparison, like, well, this person does tribal, and so they must be doing the right thing. Or that one, well, she's got a lot of technique. She does all this tight, glitchy stuff, and so that must be the right way. Like, a new style, new thing doesn't have one set. I mean, look at where American tribal styles come into ITS and all the TSs out there.
I lost all. I'm so confused on all of the TSs that come.
All the TSs.
I'm like talking to somebody. I'm literally like, I'm pretending like I'm texting something by just Googling what they're talking about.
Oh my God. Irritable tribal syndrome. No, I'm not making fun of anybody. It's just you don't know what the letters and all that sort of stuff. And so that was really kind of hard to be at the forefront. People saying some really mean things and not being constructive in criticism, but being very.
Yes.
And especially when you get video, and it's like we were having a little conversation about this earlier today. And a lot of my performances on there, I'm an improv dancer.
Sure.
So when someone films me, and they're going to film me 3 or 4 times over dancing to a song to put it into editing, it's not going to be the same. And so they're going to pick whatever they want, and they're like, well, it's the same song, I'll just do whatever I want. That changes my musicality, because you're only seeing what the editor decided to do and throw music on top of it, versus seeing my performance from beginning to end, what I did. I was a new dancer. You know, I wasn't familiar with the video concept of things. And so I was like, oh, this looks cool.
Thanks, man.
Oh, it's so pretty. Oh my God, I'm on a DVD. And, you know, kids, we were just kids. We didn't know better.
I was just trying so hard, Mom.
I wanted to be pretty and dark.
I did it, Mom. See?
And there are people who still love those performances, so I don't want,
You're going to have people who love it no matter what, and you're going to have people who always hate it. That's good, especially if you put it on the internet.
Right.
Screw the internet.
I'm going to hate you for that thing you did 10 years ago. Okay, do you want to see what I'm doing now? No! Because I want to hate you.
I have so much hate in my heart that I can keep this for 10 years.
I have to create multiple personalities on YouTube and have them all comment the same way. Like,
oh, good Lord.
Like, honey, change your syntax then. And your IP address. But, that's the things. Like, that can really make you manic. And very confused and very much questioning why you're dancing at all. If this is the sort of support structure. And then when you get to the point where you go, wait, I'm just dancing for me. And I'm dancing to share what I feel with the music to the audience. And whether you get it or don't get it, that is necessarily, that comes down to how you feel and what your baggage is. So, I can do the best I can. And
cool, I just realized I have a cherry on my chin.
I didn't even see it. It's our moody lighting in the studio.
For those who don't know, I made a terrible cherry cobbler.
It's not terrible.
See, here's the problem: is I've cooked it before, and I cook it in a tiny pan. Me thinking, oh, this pan travels better. I'm gonna cook it in the big pan. Same amount of stuff, thicker this way versus this way,
right?
Which makes sense on a podcast.
Volume. It's volume. Yeah. It's depth versus height versus width equals volume.
Thank you.
We can math.
You can math. Do not pull me into that. I used to be able to do math. But so it went bad, and now I've got it on my chin, and this podcast is going south. I have another question for you.
Okay.
You deal very well with, because there's this new world. I call it new. My term of new and old is very different than other people, I think. The internet is a new thing. And there's so much more you're dealing with as a dancer. Not only, if you decide you want to publish a video, you're suddenly in danger of so much other things.
Right.
You're in danger of being judged. I think you in particular have dealt with a lot of that since you've been posting your videos for a while. And you get a lot of interesting stuff. Mm-hmm. How, especially with you as a dancer and how that affects your ego, your dancing. How are you dealing with the internet reaction on these kinds of things?
I've noticed for the most part, and oddly about that same time window when I hit the I don't care anymore, 2009, 2010, the negativity for the most part has dropped off.
Interesting.
And maybe it's because I approve comments, but I really haven't received. And now they're going to come, aren't you? You've been waiting for this moment.
Like, yes, she cares again. We know it. We've been waiting for this moment.
I don't really see that much. And so I don't really get that much negativity. Either that, I really have reached the point where I just don't give a damn. What other people think. I found that when I want feedback, I'm going to get it from my dance mentors. People like Artemis and Amel and Dahlia, who are going to give it to me straight and say, oh, honey, you need to fix this. Mm-hmm. They'll tell you this and this and this was good. You need to fix that. And from other people I trust, people who don't know you and people who feel entitled to give you their opinion, especially in the, non-constructive ways of, physical appearance, or not, they don't like your music. And I'm like, that's a personal choice.
Screw you. That's what I would say. I'd be like, I don't care. I liked it.
And so, yeah, there's been a decrease in the negativity, and for whatever reasons, I still remember certain issues, though. I do have a good memory. And I remember various altercations with people who went out of their way to be assholes. Is that PG?
Oh, I have a funny little bleep.
Bleep.
that goes through to get rid of things that not anybody else said. I've been the only one who slipped a couple times and had to add bleeps.
So yeah, I have, and some things I just, I just let it go, and then sometimes I'm an elephant, and so I do remember things. So if you start off and you are, one of those people who wants to, stir, I remember that. But, everybody's entitled to their dumb and stupid points. When you are 22 or 25 and 26 and you're like, I know everything and I'm going to tell you it and I'm going to react negatively to everything because you're attacking me. It's like, no, I don't, no.
I'm happy that those happened at the same time because I recently had a conversation with another dancer. She goes, I would dance more, but I'm so afraid people are going to take video of me and it's going to get posted as a joke. And that's what's stopping her from doing more stuff. And she's an amazing dancer, but she never performs. Mm-hmm. She does hoop work. She does all this cool stuff, but she's just scared that somebody's going to be an idiot.
Going to be a jerk.
Isn't that sad?
It is sad, and you just can't let other people stop you from doing what. If she loves what she does and she wants to perform, then it's better to share your experience with people who are going to appreciate it. There's going to be 99 people who appreciate it, and then there's going to be that one schmuck. And if you let that one schmuck deprive 99 people of that amazing experience that they are going to feel because you danced and you gave that part of your soul when you performed, that's a crime.
That is a crime. Amen.
Woohoo!
Right?
Yes.
What you talked about doing oh, it's late.
Improvisation
more than you do choreography. I don't think I've seen you do a choreographed piece ever. Actually, now that I think about it,
probably not.
Which props to you because I don't do choreography either. I might consider it for 5 seconds and then I forget it and then it goes away.
Yeah.
If you can talk a little bit about that. When did that change happen over? Was it a scary change? And what do you like? Because clearly I think you like it more than you like choreographed pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Once you get into it, you can't not do it.
So I'm a right brain person.
Okay.
I'm a visual artist. And when I first started dancing, I was like, I have to choreograph something. And I was fretting and I'm listening to the song and I just wasn't sure what was supposed to come. And I'm like, oh God, how am I ever going to dance? And then I thought about, well, what's the song saying? What's the story here? What's going on with this song? And as soon as I started to think about the story, I was like, okay, well, this is where the slow slinky movements are going to be, and this is where the sword comes in, and this is where the veil comes in, and then I want to do a drop here, and when it changes beat, I want to do this. And those were anchors. I told myself the story in my head, and the story affected how I moved. So I didn't really have a choreography. I had a loose collection of imagery. And that's how I danced for years. And then when I was working with World Dance New York, I was like, you have to have a choreography. She has Russian accent. I'm probably featuring it. Because again, when you're filming something, it does help. And so, she's like, when you're going and performing in the big stages, it will help you. And I tried, and it still didn't work right. Because I found I had a 2.5 minute mark, which meant that I would remember the choreography up into 2.5 minutes. And for no good reason, at 2.5 minutes precisely, no matter what song it was, my brain would go, derp.
Just totally forget.
And it would just blank, and then I had to be like, okay, until it might kick back in. And usually it would kick back in. But there was that whole moment of, we're in it. Oh, no. And so I just said, screw this. I'm not going to choreograph for myself. I did choreograph for my students because I found it easier for them to understand musicality when I said, okay, we're going to do this and that. And what I would do, though, is build the choreography with them. I don't like to hand them and say, here's this thing, and this is how it's done. Instead of them, so they just get it, and they don't stop to think about the music. They're more worried about 6 of these, and 8 of these, and 4 of those, and 2 of those. And so it's okay, well, this is where the music goes like this. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Boom. So we're going to do this little kind of hip drop until we get to here, and then roll up chest lift. And so they would get the understanding of the music. And so we would build a choreography so that they could work both their left brains and their right brains. And I created several of those. Do I remember any of them? 1. And I'd have to, if you put me up to it, I'd
say, let's go.
I think it's because I also use it. It's the Airship Pirates choreography, which is probably rotten hell. No, it's a fun choreography.
No.
It's a
Stop
super
that.
fun one. It's a fun one. It's simple, but it's fun, and it's kind of it's what got steampunk belly dance out there. You know, when I hear a song that goes, "This is so stupid but catchy," and that's what actually ended up how I met my husband Nathan is through that song. So.
Funny enough, that's the first time I was exposed to belly dance. I was watching a show where they featured Abney Park and they had belly dancers on the stage, and I went, "What's that?" And I was like, and they said the term belly dancer at some point in the interview or whatever they're doing, and I went, "Oh, that's different than what I thought it was," which it was the same misconception that everybody had.
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool," and then I forgot about it for years after that until I started up again. But it's funny.
The gateway drug.
It's a gateway drug.
The gateway drug.
That seed was planted so long ago.
Yep.
In a place that I clearly didn't end up, but it was planted.
It was planted. I was there, and you know, it didn't matter if what you saw was necessarily really good or really bad because you don't know at that point. You know, so what I love is that the first time you ever really see a belly dancer, like I remember the first restaurant dancer I ever saw. And she was so pretty and she was so shiny, and then there was another one and she was so pretty and she was so shiny, and the food was so good and it was great. There was live music, and I came out of that with like talking to one of the ladies in my class going, "Oh my God, that was awesome." And she said to me with that kind of pat, 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 pat. And that's where I learned that there's something you can learn from every dancer. What you should do and what you shouldn't do. And at that point, I was just like, it's pretty and shiny.
It was fun. It was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
And then when you learn more, then you start to see what's not good and what's fantastic and such. But there's that efficient, you know, what gets you going. You know, that's what I wish we could all kind of give ourselves lobotomies and go back to that part. When you see your first dancer, and it makes you so happy. And remember, that's why you love the dance, is that feeling of she's sharing or he is sharing something with me, and it transports me somewhere. And that's what you offer to somebody else when you dance, is that they get to see a shining example of really good dance that transports them.
Right on. I totally agree. I feel like personally, and I'll probably cut out half of what I say because I get tired of my own voice. But personally, I'm like halfway between like entertainment and this is something I love and I want to share how this look at all the cool stuff that I've learned. I want to show you how awesome it is, right? With a mix of, because I come from a theater background. I don't know, have you ever done any theater stuff? Yes, you have. Okay, so it makes sense to you. I come from a theater background where if you start hearing the creaky seats, then you get a little nervous. Right, and so there's there's an entertainment aspect to it. I've had this conversation with many people and I feel like all opinions are different and great and bad all at the same time. But I feel like there's this fight between the dance is for entertainment, so if it's in front of people, you should be entertainer. That's your number one goal. But this is an art, and I want to show off the art. Where would you land? And if so,
both.
Do you land? Yes.
It's both. Because the artistry of the dance is to be able to understand the history and understand how the movements are, how they're executed, how they should be applied to the music, how to have the deepening of the expression, and you know all the solid artistic points as a dancer, and coming from whatever style you're doing. And then because you're not doing it in a vacuum, and we're not doing it as a social dance, which is where its roots are coming from. For the most part, belly dance is a social dance. It got elevated to the stage in the vast, 2 centuries more or less. You can bicker about that, but especially in, from the 50s onward, getting into the cabaret and nightclub scene, it's something where you can appreciate and entertain at the same time. And some people, you can educate them, but at the same time you're entertaining them, and they don't even know. That's how it is. And the best comedians and the best movies and the best music does that as well. That it makes people think, a little bit or a lot, And that's good. If you get them to connect or get them to feel, get them to think, then you are supplying the arts, offering the arts, as well as entertaining. So I think you need to be both. And it's hard, especially at a restaurant setting, where you're dodging falafel and...
I just have this imagery instantly. I'm an imagery person of just like getting tossed, and you're like doing like these sweet matrix moves
it's always,
to get out.
The dodging the falafel on the floor. It's always the falafel on the floor.
Always.
You know, whether you're wearing heels or barefoot, it's you know, dodging the falafel. You know, and some people are excited to see you there, and some people are scared shitless. Some people are, oh no, I don't want my boyfriend to look at you, or the boyfriend's like, oh god, my wife, boyfriend, you know, whatever. Partner doesn't want me to look at, you know, and so you get into the social construct. But if people come to a show, you know, if they're coming to a show in a theater, or they're coming to a Hofla, or whatever it is, then you are presenting something in a little bit more of a format, you know. But even the old, you know, restaurant show, the 5 and the 7 part, I mean, that was still a show, though. You had a stage, you had lights, the restaurants cared. Some of them still care. Some of them do. Most of it,
not
though,
a lot.
Most of it
Not a
means
lot.
you're dodging. You know, there's one restaurant I danced to. It was like in a, I felt like it was on a racetrack, because the only thing I could do was like go around in this giant oval around people, and they're like, oh look, there's a light. I'll try to dance the light. Oh, I have to go back around the racetrack again. You know.
Yeah.
The art is art kind of gets dragged down. I don't want to say it's de-elevated, but it's hard to appreciate the entertainment aspect as well as the artistic aspect in that setting when it's not presenting to the best of its advantage.
I can definitely see that, like, at least preference-wise, you always prefer the show type presentations. I'm the opposite. I love the restaurants because I like people, surprisingly. And I like the interaction between people.
Oh, I like the interaction too.
Right. It just doesn't happen as much I feel, personally. But that just could be
Well,
me. Sure.
you have a stage that's 6 to 8 feet tall.
I'm already almost 6 feet tall. It gets hard.
Yeah, like, she's so tall. She's a tall lady. But like when you have a good restaurant that has a dance floor and lighting, means that you can reach out and you can bring the audience members up and you can interact with them in that sort of way. I think that does elevate it. But how many restaurants do that nowadays?
One that I know of, and I have it. Yeah, it's pretty rare.
So it's hard to do that, you know, when people can't really see the restaurant show in the proper setting. But when you get that little girl who's looking at you like, she's so pretty, she must be a princess, and you got the Arabic guys who, you know, they're a little shy, but they want to come up and they dance, you know, and they, you know, doing the whole shoulder dance. And you get the ladies who get up and they're in their high heels and, you know, and you impress them with the fact that, you know, that this is a Khaliji step and that's a, you know, a Saidi step. And they're like, oh, she knows, you know, that's really fulfilling too. Yeah, she knows what she's doing. She looks white, but she knows what she's doing. That sounds horrible, but that's the thing. But when when people aren't really paying attention to you and they can't see you.
Uh-oh.
Yes. And now Sam has entered the room.
We got trouble. Infamous trouble. Back to where we were.
Okay.
When did you start doing stuff with bands? When did that start? Because, I mean, that's a scary jump for a dancer. It's like, okay, I've been working with CDs or I've just been putting on some tunes and dancing to them. There's a big jump from doing that. And, you know, and what started that? Were you invited? Were you asked? Were you like, hey, I do stuff and would be interested?
Well, so as another combination of back in the day, when I started belly dancing, all the girls in the group in our tradition started belly dancing together. And we're like, we're going to bring this to the drum circle.
No.
And, you know, or to the ritual circle. And so, you know, the boys are like, well, how do we get involved? Well, we bring drums. And so kind of starting out early, not to say it was great drumming, because
well, let's just start now.
There's you know, the attempt of drumming in a circle, which can be really good, but most often it's kind of meh. So starting off really connected that live music part, and then I think it was at the Desert Dance Festival. No, actually, first Ricasa. The first Ricasa that I got to perform in, the only spots left were a live band. And so I danced with a live band. That are now a well-known live band that are really decent back then. They still need to get their stuff together. So I will not mention who that was. But at the next time that I, could only get a live music slot, was at Desert Dance Festival, and that was to Uncle Mafufo's band.
Mm.
And Armando was so nice to me, because I'm like, well, why don't you guys play what you want to play, and I'll go with it. Whether you want to do slow, fast, slow, or fast, slow, fast, whatever. I'm up for it. And I don't really remember that performance, but I remember him smiling, and I think hopefully I smiled, and I had a great time. And that helped offset that first live band. And if that was my only live music experience, I can understand why people will be like, oh my god, no, not live music.
Yeah, it's too scary. I don't know what's happening.
And then I start to work with Solus, Jeremiah Soto. I had been working with him when I was publishing a pagan, or I was associate editor of a pagan magazine, and so we interviewed him for and had his music featured for that. And so I met him, and when he started to work as a live band, because before that everything was just stuff he recorded, in his studio, like mostly him and some keyboards and occasionally a few other live musicians. He's like, I'm going to make this into a band, and then they played at Ricasa, and I got to be one of the selected dancers to perform with them, and that was amazing. And through that I made really good friends with Tim Rayborn and Tim Bowling, the Tims, out there, and worked with Tim for his show The Flame in the Shadow, which was all like a belly dance theater music thing. It's amazing CDs, you can look it up online, The Flame in the Shadow. And from there there wasn't too much live music when I moved to the East Coast, because where I was in New Jersey, it's sort of out there. But what happened was, when I started doing steampunk stuff and I came out on tour and met Nathan's like, I'm starting to do my side project where I'm making music for dancers. And so that started a whole new thing. And it's like, wait, we can work with musicians who aren't necessarily belly dance musicians. And so I perform with Jill Tracy, who does kind of gothic noir lounge music, Edward Gorey put to music. And other bands through that. And so we have a mini little cat fight there.
Oh, stop. You're fine.
And I performed with Abney Park, and then, then my life changed in the way that now that I'm married to Nathan, and we are in the band together, because that works better that way.
So much easier when you're married to the band.
Yeah.
Literally.
It worked out really, really well. And now I'm kind of spoiled to the part where I'm like, oh, I have to use CD? You don't have to plan. You just gotta go and do what you're gonna do. If it's just me and him, we always improvise. He might have an idea of what's going to happen. I might have an idea of what's going to happen, but we kind of like the double blind theory of just, we might have an idea of slow, fast, slow, or, this part's about this part's about that, and then we'll go see what happens. And it depends on the crowd and the people who are there and how we feed off the energy. And so everything's made in the moment, and you can't get that with a CD. Mm-hmm. And, so people are afraid of, things could go wrong. Things can go wrong with the CD. The CD can skip.
Which is an interesting experience with the troupe, might I tell you.
Or it just stops playing altogether, or they play the wrong song. Anything can happen. And, as long as your musicians, your band isn't, drunk off their asses or on crack or something, you are pretty much guaranteed to have an awesome experience if you are prepared to share your energy with both the band and the audience.
Right on. Well said. Lovely. I wanted to chat, I'm looking at our time. I wanted to chat a little bit about style.
Okay.
And style within belly dance. I feel that you've changed your style consistently. Mm-hmm. But you've also incorporated stuff that was within your own life, within your own style. Stop it. I see you. That's not for you. You have plenty of food, I'm sure. Go find that food. He's going to be back in like 10 minutes, if that.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like the 4-year-old at home.
Mm-hmm.
Go play in your room for like 5 minutes. 2 minutes later, he's back.
It was 5 minutes?
No, it wasn't. No, just go. With style, you've had a lot of changes, and you've brought a lot of cool stuff into the dance community. You were talking about dreadlocks not too long ago.
Oh, yes. The dreadfalls.
Yes.
So, when I was in college, and I think this is in that article I wrote, my friend Jessie was, doing some weird things with fake hair, and I'm like, fake hair? Because, you dyed your hair, you shaved your hair, you did sort of weird things to it, but this fake hair concept was like, you could add more things? And so I discovered other hair artists who are all in the Gothic scene, and actually in our little Providence community. And from there, I found the online fake hair community. And I was like, this is a great way you can have colors in your hair. And being very, very dark haired. Mm-hmm. The year, like when I was 19 or 20, I wanted a white streak in my hair.
Good luck.
2 total bleachings with a professional hair salon person. I got to platinum blonde.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Did it fall right out?
I think, 2 years later, I still had a little bit of blonde roots that were down at those last 2 inches of hair. But it wasn't a very positive experience. My skin is very sensitive, so it didn't react well to the bleach. And white hair and platinum blonde are not the exact same thing. And this wasn't even eczema. I had a dream that I had a white streak. And so at 19, I wanted it. My boss's wife at the time said, you have to earn those, honey.
Oh.
And now I'm getting that.
Uh-oh.
But, so being able to put hair in that could get you those crazy colors was a revelation. And I thought instantly, like, why can't I coordinate it with my costume? And so I was working on a peacock costume. So I had peacock costume and peacock hair, and they had dread falls. And I didn't think about dreads as being something odd or unusual or tribal, because they weren't tribal. I think the only person I knew who had real dreads at that point was Melodia. And it wasn't, they just had natural dreads. And
that was just her thing already.
Yeah, she came into it, and, before she was belly dancing, she had dreads, and that's a California thing, a Burner Man thing, kind of. And so my idea was, like, I agree to change up my hairstyle by doing this kind of fake hair. And because I'm the sort of person who likes to share, I'm like, here, you like this? Try it. I'm not one of those people who hides things, and, like, I'm going to hide all my resources, because I think that's stupid.
Everybody needs to know everything.
Everybody needs to know these things. I like to share, and people think it's cool. I want you to try it too. I can't explain. It's my personality, which gets me into trouble. But so
trust me, there's plenty of things I get in trouble for too. So,
yeah. So the girl who made the falls for me made me sets to sell at Tribal Fest. And I was like, okay, I already ran out of them. Here, contact her directly. And then people started making them themselves. And then they started doing the yarn fall thing, which yarn falls really well done with Collinette 0.5 before then. And then people were just taking Walmart yarn. Walmart yarn is not a good idea.
Most Walmart things are not a good idea.
This is an excellent point. But that's how it started, is, back in 2001, 2002, started to work the fake hair in. And then it's still there, Brandy with Diva Dreads, because I was like, hey, well, you're really good with this. You should run with it. And now she does. And now I have her do my hair when I want to be, when I want to have dreads or braids or any sort of variation. There was a while where I cut my hair off to a bob, which was probably the second or third time I've done that in my life. It made it a lot easier for the 1920s stuff. But also my hair was suffering from California. And dreads also pull your hair, depending when you are doing the Gothic thing and sticking 30 sticks in your hair and porcupine quills and all this sort of stuff. It sort of rips your hair out. And everybody and their grandmother was doing it at the point, especially in the tribal community. So I was like, I'm going to use my real hair. What a crazy innovation.
This will be great.
It's fantastic. And then everybody started cutting their hair. And I was just like, okay. At least I didn't have to give out my hairdresser's name. Actually, I did.
Oh, gosh.
Because I want her to do good. And the corset belt thing. This all started at the same time as the fake hair. As I was interested in corset items before I got into belly dance. And I knew that boning and undulating and isolations do not go together. Especially tightly fixed proper corsets can cause damage. There's some people like, oh, no, if you just don't do it. If you're drunk, you're going to feel it later. And so I thought, okay, well, here's an interesting way to take these concepts and put it onto a hip belt so that it looks like a corset and it feels great because it ties all your stuff in, it elongates your torso. You can do the same thing with a bra because back closures, those are difficult. Safety pins and things that never seem to hold. But if you can lace them, and whether you have more back fat one day or not, you can adjust it. And all the vests and the other various things. And I still sell all those patterns. And that influenced
lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff. I made over, I stopped keeping track after 600, but I figured I made up to 800 to 900 belts that had been distributed, and numerous sets and numerous vests and all that kinds of things. And the hair thingies, the hair fascinators are all over now. But back in the day, I was like, okay, well, how's another way you could add color to your hair? Let's take these cool feathers and stick shit down there.
Again, I
got the bleep.
The magic editing.
And so it's always just been, I'm like, okay, how do I solve this problem for myself? And then people like it, so I will make it for them. And then people go, that's cool, I'll make it too. Which is cool as long as they do their own thing on it. That's probably one of the most difficult things, is when you do something and somebody just goes ahead and knocks it off. And they do a bad job of it as well. I'm like, if you can take my design and you really make it better,
props.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hats off. That's what design is about, is making it better. That's what design is. Knocking something off and making it crappy is not design.
I'd imagine that happens with your dance as well.
Probably. I just like to pretend it doesn't happen.
It just didn't happen. Didn't happen. Totally didn't happen.
And there are the points where I've gotten over having kittens, over what people are calling whatever they're calling. I remember the first time I saw some people like, this is a gothic belly dance performance, and they picked up their veils with their butts to the audience, and they're crotching the audience, and it was just lacking proper stage technique.
Yeah.
Didn't even have to come down to were they belly dancing well. It was it's a stage technique, and if you're going to do something weird, you better do it right with all the other parts. Don't break those rules. There are reasons why you don't crotch the audience. There's a reason why you don't bend over and pick up your veil with your butt to the audience.
Grab your boobs, all these kinds of things.
Yes,
Yeah.
there are reasons. There are places where you break the rules, but if you're going to break them, you better do everything else awesome. But I don't have control over that. I'm not responsible for what my children do, whether they're illegitimate or legitimate.
Oh gosh, somebody else online was, because God knows I love online comments as much as I hate them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading somebody had this long blog about Rachel Bryce's illegitimate children, is literally what she called it. And she's responsible for all of this thing, all of these people, and all of these things that they've said. It's your fault that you've started this cult of tribal fusion. And I thought, okay, clearly you have a very strong opinion about that, but I really doubt that was her intention.
She just was doing what she wanted to do, and
right.
we've had discussions about this, because I remember back in 2001, 2002, where she performed at the Summer Caravan, which was a festival that used to happen between the Ricasas, and with I'm forgetting his name now.
Uh-oh.
Cute drummer, because it's Tobias. She performed
That's a great name.
Yeah. He was a virtuoso djembe player, and and she did the whole kind of slinky yoga sort of thing, and it was really clearly her. And I remember a few years later, after she's like, "Oh, that Art Nouveau thing that you're doing, that's really awesome. I want to do that too." I'm like, well, "Go ahead."
Yeah. Just do it different.
Just do it different. How do you feel about people who, they either just want to emulate you, or whatever you do, you can go out on stage and take a crap and people will think it's awesome because you did it. And that's a really hard thing to deal with, is that, you can't judge anymore a valid response. What is a valid response? Because people are so well, this must be what God delivered right here because this is what it is. That's really, really hard. So, and again, you can't be responsible for what other people do. There's a thing about when you teach to inform others, And you can give them all the information you can, and hopefully it's the best information with the best intention that you're doing it so they can go forth and do it as good or even better. And what they do with it, though, you have no control over. You can only hope they'll go forth and do something good. And so it's a hard thing to let go of, because you want to, if they're people you're teaching, you want to see them do good, and you want to see them take your material and do good with it. And when they go and do bad things, it takes them out of restraint, but sometimes they're going to learn. They'll learn the hard way, or they'll learn the right way. The worst thing, though, is when you aren't teaching people and they're copying from you and they're not speaking with their own voice. One of the most perilous things in both Oriental and tribal is people who only imitate and they don't dance with their own voice. I don't want to see any copycat. I don't want to see somebody who, this is that move, and that's a move from so-and-so, and that's a combo from so-and-so, and I'm like, well, who is this person? What do you have to say? Because all I'm seeing is you change to her facial expression when you do that combo, and then you change to so-and-so's facial expression when you do the other combo. And that's really sad, because this is a performance art. And, people are like, well, you have to learn from your inspirations. Yeah, you can be inspired by people, but that doesn't mean you want to be them.
Do you think a lot of that is from being new and not knowing what they want, or is it just something they've been doing that for so long that they've never? It's got to be both.
It's a little bit of both. When I lived in another area that wasn't here, one of my students said of someone else in the area was, well, yeah, I know she's not the greatest thing, but she's sort of like our area's Rachel Bryce because she does the same thing. And that's a horrible thing to say, is that you don't want to be somebody else's area's Rachel Bryce. Mm-hmm. You want to be your own area's whoever you are, right. Your own Shipoopy, to quote Artemis from this last weekend. You want to be known for you, not because you're copying somebody else. And I think some people say, well, that's what's popular, so I'll do that, and that's where I'm going to make money. Which, as you can see in the state of the last 10 years of the belly dance community, has not gotten us into a great position. There is a whole lot of mediocrity, because there's nobody, there's a lot of people who aren't speaking with their own voice. They're just kind of speaking with a mix of the same 3, 2, 1 people they've ever studied with, or only copied from YouTube. And so they've never gotten feedback. And some people they do it because they don't have confidence in themselves. There are always, here comes the argument, and I've covered this in my blog before, of, well, you got to learn from somewhere, and you have to get your inspiration from somewhere. It's like great, painters, they copy other masters so that they can get where they go. Here's the point, is that those painters did not exhibit those copies. Those copies were done in their own studio for their own sake to learn technique. They didn't bring it to a show and present it as professional. They waited until they were ready to do their own work with their own voice and brought it to a professional setting. So if you're going to go to a gallery, you do it with your own work, not Rembrandt's copies. And that's where the belly dance community is confused on some things. The Hafla is the studio setting, where you can try something out and experiment and see if it works as a baby dancer. But when you are claiming to be a professional dancer and all you're presenting is somebody else's material, whether it's a choreography or just a copy of what you think they do, you're not being a professional because you're not presenting your own voice and you're not doing justice to the art.
Tell it. Ugh. Right on. So, to wrap up a little bit. So, say if people are interested in the 20 billion things that you do. Actually, no, let's go back. I'm going to shut up. What is the next big thing for you? This could be, okay, this might be a 3-part question. Okay. It could be things that I want to do in the future. Mm-hmm. Like, this is my dream that I've always wanted to do. Things that you're already doing your dream. This is exactly what you wanted to do. Or things that are in the small idea process, like I've just kind of started it up.
Okay. So I'm really, really happy with what's happening right now. Like, I'm doing everything that I love. And in a great life situation in a place that I love Seattle. I think it's awesome. The love affair is still going on. We're hitting my 2-year anniversary. And so, you know, I am doing a lot of stuff that I'm very happy with. The classes are going well, workshops are going well, and there's enough business. My main personal self-focus right now is I'm happy where I am in the dance and continue to explore the themes at the same level I'm working at. But I'm focusing on my visual art and kind of hitting this little, the Geminis are fighting, work on dance, work on art. You know, when you're 80, you can still do art as long as you can see and move your hands. Dance, well, hopefully you can still dance, but maybe I will be pretty fabulous when I'm 80.
You don't know.
I don't know.
I've seen some pretty kick-ass
But if I'm
dancers
still a
today.
klutz and fall down the stairs on my tailbone again, then yeah, I'm probably not going to be doing that. But I really want to focus on my visual art, and the next kind of secret plan is to incorporate the visual art with the dancing in a whole new way that I had a dream about many years ago, and I actually told it to another dancer because she was in the dream, and hopefully she never read that email and it got deleted off the tribe because...
Uh-oh. Was it one of those, like, I had a dream about you, and then it got kind of creepy?
Well, no, it wasn't kind of creepy. It was more of like, and this is a great idea. And it's like, that's where my great ideas need to, like, stay in my vault until I do it myself or figure out how to do it right. And so with Nathan, I would like to create a theatrical presentation that brings these things. That is respectful of the art form, respectful of the music, the art form being both dance and the visual arts, that inspires people and isn't a wank fest. Because I get a little touchy about stuff that really seems to be done only for ego and divorces itself from the arts. Like, art grows, art is about innovation, but it still it needs to be classy.
It needs to be classy.
I like to be classy. People can think of things about... I've never danced with fake blood, no vampire fangs.
I have a story for you.
No
after.
upside down crosses, no graveyard, things.
I have a story for you later. I can't tell it. But I have a story for you after.
I get to hear it. You guys don't. Sorry.
Yeah.
But to me, I do that all without props. And it's about keeping it classy. So, there's an elegance to it, and I think that's to me what the dark and the gothic has, an unusual elegance. And sometimes it's a bit creepy, and sometimes it could be a little bit angry, but it's still elegant. And so that's where my theatrical parts are. But I want to make lots of art, make lots of paintings, and Nathan will keep making amazing music. And so who knows what we're going to do? That I'd like to do more teaching with Nathan and do more of our presentations at other places. It's where the belly dance economy is right now, is sort of unstable, so who knows? But like steampunk events are a big thing right now, so we get to do that thing. And anime events and geek cons kind of things are kind of neat. I
would like to see belly dancing at an anime con.
It is awesome.
Sakura Con? I've never thought of that as a thing.
But Arisia on the East Coast, in New England and Boston, has its own belly dance show.
Is she the one who does like the Star Trek belly dance bits and like...
Arisia is the name of the convention.
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes.
I thought you were talking about... There's a belly dancer who's like known as the Leia... the bikini Leia of...
There's a few different ones. I know several different kind of... And there's a lady who dances a Wookiee, and the people who dances Klingons, and and the whole geek side of things. The geekdom. I mean, it's awesome. And, we just got big news about a convention I can't say anything about right now. That is like the big of all the sub geeky things come together, and so that's really exciting because at the same time I don't take myself that seriously. That's fine,
and that's
so
classy, yet not too
classy without being like stuck up about it. So I liked. That's why so many people say, you're my mom's favorite belly dancer," which I'm not. I know it's a really highly.
That's totally a compliment.
It is totally a compliment because that means that you have a summer dancer who's in their 20s or 30s, and then the mom who's in their 50s or 60s, who or 70s, who are like, you're doing something weird, but I like it. You know, and for them to, you know, and so that's the thing. I think that's, you know, unusual, but yet classy and honorable at the same time.
Wholesome.
That is. Some people will call it wholesome.
Well, yeah, sure, and you can call it that, but I think because the waggling the parts gets real old after a while.
Right. There's only so much wiggle waggle you can.
Right, and it might be cute for a while, but it fades fast.
Right.
There's gonna be something else. I don't think wholesome, family friendly, or my mom liked it are bad words, bad phrases at all.
No, it means it's thoroughly entertaining, and they don't feel offended. So they might have their interest piqued in a way they weren't expecting. They might find it sensual, but they find it respectful at the same time. And so it could be a fun little tagline, your mom's favorite belly dancer.
I really want to see that. I really want to see that on your website. Like just at the
Godmother,
bottom.
your mom's favorite belly dancer.
Your mom's favorite belly dancer. 2014.
I won the award!
And then right under it, so goth.
So goth.
Yeah.
So goth.
So, big things. A lot of stuff that we're getting teased about, but don't actually get to hear or official, or get to know about. So, keep your eyes out. Where would people find out information about you to either take one of your classes, contact you about workshops, just kind of read about what you're doing, check out your art, all of the billion things. I mean, literally, I forgot half of them in the intro because there's too many. Where can people find this information about you?
I have way too many URLs.
Okay.
The mama URL that you can go to that will get you to mostly everything else that is easy to spell is darklydramatic.com. That will get you to my dance site. And I'm hopefully going to do a revamp of that again because I'm learning some new web stuff. I'm like, ooh, it's going to look cool again.
I love web stuff.
There's gothicbellydance.com, which needs to be revamped. And I've been promising a revamp now for, I think its 10-year anniversary was last year.
Oh. Whoops.
In my copious amounts of spare time, we might get there. There's alchemy.com, which is spelled owl, like the bird, key, like adore key, and then me.com. And that is all my art, all my jewelry, all my design stuff. NathanielJohnstone.com is all the band and music stuff. And then, I do 2 festivals. We mentioned that. Tapestry Dance, and I think it's tapestry-dance.com, which will probably be in 2015 or 2016. It's a When the Stars Align kind of festival for sacred dance, folkloric dance, ritual dance. And then Waking Persephone, and so it's Waking Persephone. Waking Persephone will take place here in Seattle. This is its 3rd year, but it's first year in Seattle. And it will be October 17th to the 19th. We have 30 workshops, and we have 20-some teachers, and a big show with live music, and a ritual evening of community celebration. And there's a community roundtable, and there's lots of vending, and it's a really awesome festival that's for all styles. I call it Dancing Through the Dark and Unusual because it's about innovation. It's about stagecraft. It's about technique. It's about all these things. If you're going to do fusion well, or if you're going to do belly dance well, from your costuming to your music to, how you do your hair to how you work on your practicing and how you create stories with dance, everything is covered with several big name dancers as well as a whole rising community of dancers, which is where I like to support. Just because there weren't like the 5 biggest names you heard off of the BDSS doesn't mean that everybody else sucks, people. Mm-hmm. There's many other things, and the more people you learn from, the better your dance is going to be. So if you want to find your own style, come to a festival like WakingPersephone.com, where you'll be welcomed with open arms, no matter how weird you are.
If you like choices, holy crap. I was like, I want to do all of them.
I got all excited. Like, this is the most excited I've been. Like, I'm pretty excited about this festival, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is... I have to give myself a cookie.
I think you deserve just a little bit more than a cookie. So
2 cookies!
The main place you're going to go is darklydramatic.com, where you can find probably that links to other places.
Yeah, you're going to find my workshops, you'll find my classes, you'll find my blog, where I try to post something every couple of weeks. I've been on tour, so it's been hard. And you'll find links to the music. You will find links to the art.
Right on.
And see what's going on. Add my newsletter. You can find, I have 2 pages on Facebook because Facebook is screwy. There's a Tempest page, and you can find my old page, Tempest and Medevi Inc., which was my old business name. And then Alchemy Arts if you like art. So,
yay, art!
And Nathaniel Johnstone Band, go and like it.
Yes, absolutely. Lots of things. All of the things. So many things. Lost in all things.
And then see pictures of my cats online.
Yes, and then pictures. Yes, pictures of cats has been my main favorite thing. I can't lie. I miss my kitty so much that I'm like feeding off of the cats in your.
The internet is made of cats.
I love it. I think I heard one over there, but I don't see them, and I'm getting concerned.
We have a couple of ghost cats here too.
Yeah, it happens.
Yep.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you letting me come over and eat junky cobbler that had slight. I don't know what happened, and letting me tell my bad jokes. So I appreciate that.
Yay!
Yay.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Want to listen to more Sauce Pod? Go to facebook.com/shutupandshimmy podcast for more interviews with your favorite dancers.